Made it to another day, bless up. To the fam that's gone, rest up. We run a marathon, catch up. Activate the voice, so we stepped up. Made it to another day, bless up. To the fam that's gone, rest up. We run a marathon, catch up. Activate the voice, so we stepped up. When you come where I'm from, every day a blessing. No stressing. Most high get the ration. Revolutionary mindset with aggression. Like a frat house, we do all the stepping. Ancestors within, we keep the chief repping. Experience was my best lesson. Now I'm rolling up from the ass, throw it up. Sub-zero cold enough, birth the black fist.
I'm gonna remember that shit like I'm writing it down. 2 tears in the bucket when I slide through the town. I ain't worried about nothing, but where my kids at? All the rain and the pain already did that. I'm trying to live a little more. And even
Made it to another day.
Peace, peace, peace. What's going on, family?
Peace and
Peace and
blessings.
blessings.
What's good with y'all brothers?
Man, the
Yeah.
world we building, man. Plot and
Yes.
progress.
For sure. For sure. This is the first episode of the Pod in Progress, the Growth Spot LLC podcast, man. So bear with us as we get things going and rolling and up and moving and watch the progress.
Yes. Bless up.
Bless up. That was a little clip of the land that we got up there in northeast Arizona, St. John's. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Why buy land? Why should other people be buying land? Why do we buy land?
Well, let's start with the intro first, man. How about everybody introduce themselves a little bit and just say a couple words about who they are, and so that way we can kind of help people get a little bit familiar with who we all are.
Take it away, Delon.
I bet. Well, my name is L.E.G.A.C.Y. I'm a native of Arizona, man, born and raised in these crazy streets of Phoenix. And for me, I came to know these brothers through a call that we do on Tuesday nights, the All Black Fathers Committee call. And we'll probably eventually touch into how all of this came about, especially since we're talking about buying land. But let me just tell you that it's never been a greater time to be a part of a collective like this.
Word. My name's Kylan Gresham. Uh, Also a native of Arizona, born in South Phoenix, grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Uh, Came back to Arizona a little over a decade ago. And yeah, for me, this is a passion project. I kind of see it as somewhat of an extension of like a rites of passage, considering that, an inner city kid like myself, I feel like I'm kind of rediscovering who I am through this effort and other efforts like it. You know what I mean? As far as this getting out into the wilderness and building with my hands, forcing me to kind of think in a different way, and forcing myself to be more resourceful about what I can do and the things that I don't know how to do, just kind of learning how to do so by tapping into different resources and going through the repetition. So, very fortunate to be a part of this collective. I'm excited about everything that we got coming, very enthusiastic, and I think the other brothers would um, agree with me on that behalf. So, yeah, here we go. You know what I mean? One step at a time. The most important thing is that we keep moving.
Facts.
Hmm.
Yeah, peace. I'll go next. Come in the name of True Father Allah. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi, raised out here in the Valley of the Son of Man, we like to call it. Um, Curator for Grassroots Bookstore, been involved in the hip hop scene and a whole lot of other things out here. AZ informant, journalist, um, hip hop talk radio show back in the day called True School Radio. But um, the question posed earlier by Brother Crondo was talking about why buy land, and like Brother Kylon said, um, it's not just learning. It's not just learning how to do new things. It's like learning how to live for the first time for me. You know what I'm saying? Like going back to our roots, like the way my grandfather and those before him lived. You know what I'm saying? Somehow it didn't get um, taught down to myself because somehow we were taught that what we do and what we are good at ain't the way, and that we just need to go to school and like be slaves and hard workers for other people who don't care about us. But we get them back around to what's real.
Mm.
But I'll just leave it at that for right now because I got a lot to say on the subject.
Okay, I'll introduce myself, Brother Crondo, mentor, our Black Fathers Committee. We do a lot of mentoring fathers, mentoring the youth, a lot of Black cultured events in the city. I'm also a Phoenix native, raised in Maryvale, Arizona. Uh, but yeah, definitely a community activist, a community leader, and just thankful and grateful to be able to build with like-minded individuals who form like Voltron.
Mhm.
For sure, like Voltron, man. And I'm brother Nakia, man, and man, I'm just the descendant of former sharecroppers. My grandparents were sharecroppers, and I remember my grandfather. As I grew up, I watched him farm and produce from the land, man. And so, for me, the quest to return back to the land of my ancestors was always something that was important, man. And so, I got involved in all of this through a community event. I went to a community event, one of my first ones in the valley, and I met Brother Bilal. And in meeting Brother Bilal, he was like, "Man, I host this call." And he was like, "Hey man, why don't you join the call?" And I was like, "Okay, that's a bet. I'll join." I gave him my word. I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And when I showed up, I haven't left. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And so that's for me. That's how this all started. And I got to know all the brothers that are here, that are present, man. And I'm humbled to be in the presence and in the honor of such great men to help teach me about this thing called fatherhood, man. I'm sitting here
Mm.
with my daughter. My daughter, she's growing right now, and I think for a lot of us, that's where this really sparked, is from that call with us just discussing, man. And I'll stop it there, but that's so you know who I am. I'm a father of four. I try to do as much as I can in the community. I work with the people living downtown on the streets of Phoenix, less than a block from the Capitol. We've been doing it. That this is coming up on our 2-year anniversary of being able to just journey and help people to overcome and come out of the conditions that they're in, if that makes sense. And so man, ever since I've been working with all of these brothers here, and I'm just grateful to be a part of what we're building, brothers.
Yeah. And there's two other members of the collective part of the Growth Spot Squad that are not present. Brother James and Brother Bilal, they are not on the call, but hopefully soon everybody will get a chance to hear from them, where they're from, and a little bit about their testimony and how they came involved in this project as well.
For sure, for sure. I appreciate everybody taking the time out and hop on the call, man. This is, like I said, the first of many episodes, man. We're gonna be stockpiling them up and just building, and uh, also as the viewers get more acquainted with us, and if you have anything you want us to talk about or questions, you can put it in the comments, or email us, or hit up the website. We also got a website, um,
TheGrowthSpot.org.
.org.
growthspot.org.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
The, e-
thegrowthspot.org.
yeah.
We
The
can be reached.
email is thegrowthspot@gmail.com.
Yeah. So let's get into it, man. Why buy land? Why did we buy it? Why should other people be looking into it?
Man, I'll kick it off. I'll kick out that question, and I'll give a short answer. But it's legacy. Um, the If you go back to the biblical days, for those that are believers and those that are not, that believe that we were created out or hewed out of the earth of the land, right? So that being said, it's returning back to what is our birthright in the first place. That's what it is for me personally.
Yeah, I would add that it's literally the most valuable asset you could have. Everything that is produced comes from the land, so that means the possibilities are endless as far as what
Mm.
you could draw from it. You know,
Hmm.
and then considering that, modern day age, the way we live now, I think it handicaps us because, for the most part, if you live in a metropolis, the big city, inner city,
Come
you're
on.
you're just you're just in a big production. So
Hmm.
a lot of those hard skills, you don't exercise if you've ever
Yeah.
exercised at all, you just don't know how to do. To literally sustain your biology is dependent on someone else or some other entity that controls a particular infrastructure. So I think
Yeah,
the great thing about owning land is like I kind of spoke to earlier, it forces you to kind of get into some of the basics, the fundamentals as far as just surviving, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, the possibilities are endless. So why not own land?
Right. I think that's the
yeah,
real question.
I'm
yeah.
about to I'm about to start trying to go earlier because Colin always gonna take. Yeah, I was gonna say why not own land? You know what I'm saying? And like he said, man, it's like,
Exactly.
and like I was saying earlier, it's for me, it's like learning how to live for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Because like when you're in the metropolis, in the big city, in the matrix, whatever you want to call
Yeah, you
it,
never get it.
you're kind of like you don't know what accountability is because you're so dependent on others. So by learning
Mm.
how to be on the land, you're learning how to be accountable for the first time because you're not dependent on nobody else. You have to do
Come
it.
on,
You have to grow the food. You have to build the
do for
home
self.
and all exactly. Accept your own and be yourself and do for self. So that's what it is. And for me, like reading the Message to the Black Man at age 13, one of the main things I took away from that book was, owning land. And so now, 22 years later, finally getting around to it. So it's not like, we're thinking like we're going to change the world overnight and get people to get on this tip. I mean, they need to, but, it took some time for me to get here. And one last thing I want to say is that, I looked up to like a lot of cats coming up, a lot of older cats and everything. What up?
Mute your phones.
Right in the middle of it, they hidden.
Hey, what I love about the growth spot though, man, it's like it shows and proves that, you know, um, you can learn from others that are younger than you. You know what I'm saying? Before Brother James
Yeah,
joined us, I was I was the oldest cat in the collective. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just blown away at the intelligence of my brothers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm learning from them. I feel more than they're learning from me. You know what I'm saying? I just be sitting back and just like in awe of like because we always have this thing with like generations and different age gaps, and a lot of the older cats like to talk down on the younger cats. Well, you know, building with all them older cats, we didn't do what we doing here. So, with that being said, I just want to say like I'm very proud of all y'all, and like y'all continue to inspire me every day.
Thank you.
Mm.
You as well,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. Ah, man. I mean, I think it's all pretty much been said and covered for me. I think that, Brother Nakia, you said it, legacy, but also what comes to mind when I think about why own land is the freedom, because I think it goes
yeah,
even deeper than talking about being able to survive. I think that really it's not about surviving from the land as much as it is being able to thrive in the more
that's it.
natural
Thrive.
setting of who we naturally are created and endowed to be. I don't think that we were ever created to be enslaved to all of the many things that enslave us in these days and times that we live in a modern society or in a modern culture. You know, when
Yeah,
you live in the city, you're basically enslaved because you
Facts.
if something goes
come on,
wrong in your
man.
house, if something goes wrong in your house, for most people, you got to call somebody. So you're a slave to whoever it is that has to
Come
come. You
on,
got to wait
come
on them
on.
to come and fix it. We're a slave to these grocery stores because most people don't know how to
Yep.
grow something.
Grow
They don't know
food.
how to have agriculture or wildlife or livestock roaming around their property. They wouldn't know the first thing about hunting and
Come
gathering.
on.
And so really what it's done is it's put us in this mode where we have to learn how to survive amongst all of the things that enslave us. But when you come back to the more natural elements of just having land ownership and unadulterated land ownership, right? Land that has absolutely nothing on it. Then what it does is it frees you from being unsure of what to do. You're gonna have to
You
figure it
build
out.
it. Create it. That's
You're gonna
it.
have to create it. You're gonna have to build it. You're gonna have to figure it out. But in turn, what happens is A, you learn a lot about what you're made of, and
Mm.
then B, now what
Yeah,
you're able to do is you're able to start tapping into other people because
yeah.
you realize that I can't do this alone. If we got 37 and a half acres, could you imagine trying to cultivate and trying to
The whole
till
thing by
and trying to
yourself.
it would be difficult. It would be a challenge. And so it gives you the ability to free yourself from all of these encumbrances that we have in the society that we live in. and it allows you to connect not only to the land and to your spiritual center, but now it also allows you to connect to your fellow beings. I think that being in this
That's it.
position with the rest of you brothers has allowed me the opportunity to learn more about how to connect with other people so that we can be on the same page, not try to figure out how we can have a hierarchy, or not try to figure out how I can get over, or how I can, usurp or take from you brothers,
Yeah,
but how we can come together as a collective and
exactly.
work under one unifying mind. And yeah, if you wanted to know why you should own land, I mean, I think everybody said a million different things that are all very applicable. But for me, I think it's the freedom of being able to free yourself from this society that we live in. You realize that all of the stuff that we have at our disposal right now, it isn't all for the good. We think it's for the good because it's become so commonplace in how we
Come
live our
on.
lives,
It's
but
routine.
it's become routine. But when you start to live off of the land and you go and you have that experience, you realize, man, I bought a failing dream.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. For me, man, I would say why buy land, because it's a to me it's a priceless asset. It's something that you
Yeah,
can pass down generationally. It's something that they're not making any more of.
come on.
Um,
Finite.
it's something that wars and people have died over and killed and died
Absolutely.
for land. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to get real political, it's something that
Yep.
people colonize. It's people something that people take over. You know what I mean? So why not have your own?
Hmm.
Uh, why not have your own? And then
Absolutely.
yeah, everybody else covered everything else, the other assets of it. But it's so many answers to that question. You know what I mean? That's why
Yeah,
everybody had good points on it, and they're all right. Nobody's wrong.
yeah. I think
Uh,
Kylon summed it up perfectly when he said, "Why not?"
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I want to elaborate on something that Brother Delon mentioned as far as unifying for a particular purpose.
Yeah,
For instance, we don't all have necessarily the same belief systems or philosophies, or we all have our different preferences, but we are aligned enough to mobilize on a particular concept. And I think that's
absolutely.
also important to demonstrate that
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to agree with, you
Yeah,
know,
with every
everything
single
about,
thing.
yeah, you don't have to agree with everything about a particular person, to come together and action some objectives. So I think that that's a key piece. And then as far as what Brother Kondo was just speaking to, I think another thing that I want to emphasize here with the growth spot, when you talk about growth, obviously that speaks for itself, but a key piece of that is obviously being able to sustain your biology, right? So that goes hand in hand with cultivating the land. But the other piece of that is
Yes,
being
sir.
able to preserve that, right? You have to protect what you have, right? Or else you just become food for something else. So I
That's
think
Hmm.
it.
we
Yeah,
have an infinite amount of like historical lessons that kind of speak to those particular issues where you may have had one without the other, right? But those necessarily need to be equally yoked, right? So the more
Hmm.
we build, the more we have to prepare ourselves to be able to protect and sustain that. And not
Hmm.
not only not just sustain, but it needs to be regenerative, right? So that's like
yeah,
to your
yeah.
point as far as like passing it down generationally. Are we doing that just to say we doing it, or is the intent for them to take it to another level? And I would
That's
believe that is for the latter.
Yeah.
the
Hey,
latter. Absolutely.
I just want to touch on something you said about having all of these different personalities and philosophical or spiritual beliefs and ideologies, right? The reason why that works is because the principles of land ownership and cultivation are the
Come on.
same. You could be
That's it.
Muslim and you can be Christian. And when you plant a seed in the ground, none of that stuff matters. What you're
Come
doing is
on.
you're
That's the
planting a
law of
seed.
nature.
Exactly. And the
Come
principles
on,
are the
brother.
same. And so when that's how
It's the
you
law
come
of God.
back down to the most basic level of who we are as human beings
That's
before
it.
religion came into it, before people had all of these other ideological differences, it all stems from love. It's I have a love for
Yeah,
my fellow self, myself, and my fellow human being. And so the
that's it.
principles of how we treat the land are
That's it.
always going to be the same. You differ when you start to talk about how you can
Come on,
usurp from the
man.
land, you know,
Come on.
because that's eventually what happened is man found out a way to usurp from the land, how to take from
That's
the
it.
land.
That's
But
it.
when you're trying to grow, the principles are always the same. And so that way
That's it.
you can have a situation where it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from
Yeah.
or what your beliefs are, we can share one commonality, which is that we just want to see this thing grow.
That's it.
All right.
And that's hence the name, the growth spot. So when you think about just the name, the growth spot, it's about returning to those original principles. When we align on those principles, that allows for the land to be at peace. And that's the ultimate goal for all of us.
Yeah.
We're not
Yes.
infringing upon nobody's right. We're here to bring about what is a shalom, a peace. And so each one of us we're peaceful brothers. But guess what? If you infringe upon our peace, guess what? But we're not about that.
It's gonna
You
be a
know what I
different
mean?
kind of peace.
That's it. That's it, brother. And so, I think when we saw this land, that was one of the visions that I had was that, this is alignment with what the principles of God are, which is, well, and I would say our creator, but the principles of our creator are. Yes, I hear you, baby. The principles of our creator says that if we procreate, right? Man and woman, that we procreate. What's the potential result of that? The defiance of billions of odds. And so, as I look at the land, I look at what we've all talked about, the legacy. And I'm gonna give a shameless plug really quick. You mentioned something, modern day slavery. That's hence the term, the modern day slave podcast. That's my shameless plug for my podcast that I do on the side as well. But it is about that. It's about being able to free yourself and land is free. The growth spot.
Mm.
Yeah. Also, in the 120 lessons, we teach that social means to advocate a group or society of men for one common cause. And Carline was touching on that earlier and built on the whole idea of when it's something that you own and everything, you're forced to be a protector and whatnot. And like that's in us, right? That's in us in the city as well. But it's like Ice Cube said, like these cats dying for a street that they ain't never heard of, right?
Mm.
They don't own these streets.
Right.
They don't own
Right.
nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
This land that we got and everything, that's what we're dying for. You know what I'm saying? What we building, this is ours. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Can't nobody take it away. So that's what we're dying for, not no streets that were named by somebody else that you don't even,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Somebody that helped you keep people captive.
Come
Yeah,
on, brother. Come on, man.
yeah. I remember when we first rolled out there, just once we actually had got it, and just being like, damn man, this is ours. Like I remember like getting chills. Like wait,
Hmm. Yeah.
because of I know like where I come from, where my lineage came from. Coming here in the '50s and migrating west, and we didn't have shit. So the fact that I've already cooperated with a group of brothers who minus stories may be different or kind of the same, but we've all broke generational issues just by doing that alone.
Mm. Facts. Hey, well, I think that's a pretty good segue into how did all of this come about? How did you get a collective of seven brothers in a world in which
Right.
the theme is always black people, especially black men, can't come together, they can't work together, they can't pull their money together. How did this happen? Who
Yeah.
Well,
wants to take that one on?
I'll go briefly with it. Well,
Great
I,
question.
I I had the idea to Bilal to come up with a call every Tuesday, and pump that call every Tuesday just to have for fathers to vent and build. Besides going to a bar or going to just a homie hour on the block or something like that. So then we created that call. None of us really knew each other personally beyond that, and then generational wealth kept coming up, and then Kylon said he had land, and we were just like, "Yo, man, and let's talk about it." We kept talking about it, and then finally, I forgot who it was. One of us was just like, "Yo, man, let's just stop talking about it."
Who was it, man?
I forgot, man.
Mm.
Somebody was like, "Yo, man, let's just stop talking about it. Let's go ahead
I,
and make something happen."
I don't
I think
remember
it was
either, man.
Bilal. I think it
It
was
was,
Bilal. There was
it was either
Why,
Bilal
why,
Kai.
like, why shouldn't
yeah,
we? Yeah, why shouldn't we? I think the question came up again of why shouldn't we? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
I
went
think
from
I
there.
think I think after a few rounds of talking about this, I think Bilal was finally like, man, well, listen, man, let's stop talking about it. Let's be about it. What do we
Yeah,
got to do to put action to this thing?
yeah,
And from there, it was kind of Colin, you want to talk about the steps that we took to get to that point?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'll speak to how I kind of got involved in just the concept of owning land on this level. COVID, that whole fiasco, that whole episode lit a fire up under me. Just through conversation with my family, and
yeah,
I had a conversation with I think it was my daughter, and she said something to the effect about when there was like a notion that there was some food scarcity and all of that. People was acting a damn fool in the stores,
Right, right,
and
right.
I forgot what exactly she said, but she said something that made me like think like, damn, she thinks food comes from these buildings. Like she doesn't understand,
Mm.
It's a
the
chain.
supply, yeah, the chain of supply and everything like that. And considering the way things were happening, at the genesis of that whole thing for us here in America,
Yeah,
I started questioning my vulnerability and where I was lacking as a man and how much of a man can I really call myself if I can't sustain me and my
yeah. I'm dependent
family
on them.
by my own means. So I started
Yeah,
thinking in that manner, and from there I just started looking all around the state for like opportunities for me to invest in some type of land ownership. Now fortunately, Sister Shamika, she was participating in my archery club at the time. So I used to be an archery coach for youth, and she had mentioned that she actually purchased land, and she kind of pointed me in that direction where we eventually invested. So on a personal level, I went up and investigated, and I just kind of fell in love with the idea of owning land in that area. So uh, my wife and I, we purchased some land for ourselves personally, and then through the Tuesday night call with the Black Fathers, I shared this information, and I don't know if I was the one that actually like encouraged us to consider investing collectively, but that doesn't even matter at this point because it happened, and
Mm.
I was just further invigorated in my personal
yeah,
effort because I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this alone. Number one. Number two, like someone mentioned earlier, we're kind of beating down that narrative that we can't do shit together. We can't
Hmm.
organize and
exactly.
all of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm just fortunate to be amongst a group of other individuals that actually put this in motion. So for me, that was monumental, to do something on this level that is literally, it's a generational it's a new thing for a lot of us, in our family lineages. So I'm just very excited about it. I don't think it's a bigger stripe you can earn than literally
Yeah,
cultivating land and building your own space for your own people. You know what I'm saying? On our terms. That's the most important part.
that's the real
Pulling our
flex.
resources, yeah, pulling our resources together and making it happen. Really, just not oversimplifying it. I mean, I'm sorry, not overcomplicating it. I think that's what gets in the way of a lot of like initiatives, just overthinking it. You know what I'm saying? And then just like petty differences, like kind of stalling out the initiative. So yeah, in short, I feel like that was kind of like the genesis of what has been birthed, and it's just beautiful to see. So, like I said, man, we here. We gonna keep pushing it, and it's so much more for us to uncover in ourselves, right? So much opportunity for us to learn, lean on each other, and just grow collectively. So,
Hmm.
again, kind of speaks to the name of the growth spot.
yep. And plot and progress also speaks
Mm.
to that because that's
Absolutely.
it's this has been a there's no manuscript that tells us how to do this, if that makes sense. So we have established and created what is a model for how to do this, I believe, and that's one of the reasons why we call it the growth spot. And I think, man, it's a collective that allows for us to exercise all of our creative areas, whatever that happens to be, whatever it is that we each one of us, and we've seen as we've grown together as men, we've seen those different areas where each one of us is good in, and so I think it allows for us to tap into that side that we don't necessarily get when we're here in the valley. You know what I mean? We're here
Hmm.
in the city. It allows for us the ability to tap into that side that allows for us to tap into that childlike mind, if that makes
In the
Hmm.
matrix.
In the
You got
matrix, man.
Yeah,
sense.
you gotta jump in and out of that thing. You know what I mean? I think both sides are necessary at this point. But it's just you just gotta tailor it to your intent and what's conducive to a healthy lifestyle for yourself. So
So
I just kind of embrace that.
it's like fishing, man. I just go on the matrix to find Neos. You feel me? Get my
Hmm.
Morpheus on. You feel
That's
me?
it
But
for sure.
Mm.
yo, what I was gonna say, Kylan was talking about like finding out what type of man he is on the land. I wish I could remember this diplomat from some country in Africa, and what his name was, and some of the bills he has. But he was talking about how in Africa, I don't know if it was like an African proverb, but he was saying how man has two wives. The first wife is the land. The second wife is the woman he chooses for a wife. Now think about that. You know, if everybody had land and learned how to cultivate it, take care of it, you know, grow on it, build on it, I feel like that's the qualification for being a man, and then you can get a woman, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
We have no clue of how to, like, you know, like I said earlier, we don't know how to be accountable. You know what I'm saying? Because we're so dependent on things outside of ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So when you go back to our indigenous roots, according to what that brother was saying, was like, you know, you have to learn how to till the land and take care of the land.
yeah,
If if we knew how to do that, maybe we would know how to take care of women better.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Man,
Yeah.
So
heal and
what I,
That's
cultivate the
facts.
woman. Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
real.
man, that's
So it's
heavy.
like
that's a gem, brother. He dropped that one.
it's like you're not even qualified to be a man until you own land. You're not qualified to get a woman until you own land and build something on that shit.
There you go. I think you have to expound on
Yeah,
that. Is owning land is one thing, right?
Right, right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a time when Europe owned what 93% of
come
all
on,
the
say
land
it.
mass on the planet. So, but I think that it's one thing to own it; it's another thing to be able to protect and to provide on that land, right? That's what they always say
Yeah,
about the man
yeah,
is he's supposed to be the protector and the provider and the prophet and the preacher and all of these things. But I think that what you said was a gem in the simple fact that a man has two wives. And so if you own land and you know how to protect yourself on your land to keep other people from encroaching and taking it from you, and then you can provide off of the land. I think that that should have been a precursor, definitely, to being able to say, now I can do the same thing for a physical woman in the same way. I know for myself, I don't remember when I really started to have these ideas. I think it was as I started to kind of grow into myself in my mid 20s spiritually. I always knew that it was gonna come a time in my life when I needed to kind of revert back to, I guess, for lack of a better term, original man status, to
come on.
having land,
Mm,
to being able to cultivate on the land, to eat off of the land, to grow, have animals and wildlife, to be able to build my own structure and do it in a way that it was done before we had people that came in and did all of these things for us. You know, because to be honest,
Exactly.
the first time I ever went camping and slept outdoors was when we went down to the land a few months ago.
Mm,
I've
yeah,
never grown anything other than marijuana,
right.
and I just barely got my first animal, a dog. I've had fish, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
I've never really been in a position to where I could actually say I'm self sufficient. We think that in the society that we live in, and I'm a capitalist through and through, so it's far be it for me to talk bad about capitalism. But in this capitalistic society, it's hard for me to say that I'm self sufficient when I have an employer who does
exactly.
my check. I
Come
have
on, come
I
on,
have somebody who built my house and is going to come and take care of anything that there's a problem
come
for.
on,
And I have a grocery store that I rely on heavily to make sure that I'm able to feed my family. How can I really say that I'm self
come on.
reliant or self sufficient? And in reality, again, like I said earlier, I'm more of a slave than anything because if the system were to fall, if the system fell today and the grocery stores had to
How many
close their
people?
doors and they saturate the streets with tape and start martial law, that's what they said in the Dead Prez song, right? What do we do?
mm,
What would I do? Would I really be in a position that I could take care of my son, that I could get him out of the city, I could get him to this property, and then we could pick up where we left off and live a fulfilling life and a long life? Um,
Come on, brother.
I would say that at this junction, I'm on the path to being able to do that, but never before have I ever
Yeah.
been in a position to be able to do that. And I think that what you said, brother, true man, whoo, that was a gem. That was a gem. I
yeah,
probably need to go write
And
that down.
see,
big
man,
jam.
it reminds me of my childhood. So that's why I say, man, even though one of the things about me when I was growing up, man, is that a lot of people don't know this, but I grew up without running water till about the age of 5. But the one thing that I was always filthy rich in was love. And see, I saw my grandfather go out there and he tilled that ground and he cared for that ground and all of the animals. And I saw how he did that. I saw how he cared for the house, how he literally built a back portion to the house. I saw him do that. And just seeing my grandfather doing that from the land, and then to later have the land that he once did all those things from, taken from him. That was one of my quests, was
Mhm.
to make sure that we secure this thing to ensure that that doesn't happen again, and that we continue to build off of the land, because I've seen what that looks like, and that's, man, it's so beautiful. That's, I mean, one of the most beautiful states, you know.
Yeah,
Indeed.
not only that, man, but I remember when we grew our first garden in my second home. There's nothing like eating food that you've grown. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
It
Yeah.
tastes. It's like,
Yep.
but you like made that happen, right? You didn't buy it and pick up something that ain't no telling how many other people picked up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
something that you like nurtured and brought to fruition and like ate, man. And just it
Yeah.
tastes different. It's like eating food for the first time. If that
Mhm.
makes any
And the,
sense. You
yeah,
like,
and the thing is, no, go ahead, my bad, brother.
oh, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and it helps me to really understand how little control I have over the things that I consume. Right, like I don't know who grew it, I don't know where they grew it, I don't know
That's
what
right.
they used to
That's right.
grow it, what they used to,
Come on.
what kind of
Oh,
pesticides, what are they putting in the soil, what kind of nutrients are utilized to grow this thing, or is it not
And we
nutrients at
put
all?
that in our bodies.
Is it all chemical and man made?
no
And
clue.
so when we look at all of the issues and ailments that we have as a people, how much of that stems from
Come on.
how the food is grown and how the food goes from wherever it
99%.
starts to my table.
Yeah,
99%.
that's
Mhm.
heavy. I live like close to a nursery here, and I remember I bought some citrus trees, and I was talking to one of the gentlemen over there, and he was breaking down to me like how he actually he talks to the plants, and he
Mm-hmm.
like massages the leaves and all these
Yeah.
type of things. So to Brother True's point, there's nothing like a home cooked meal, but there's nothing like a home cooked meal that came from stuff that you grew, right? You know where it came from. So the intent is there like at an exponentially like higher level because it literally came from like your love, your labor, and
Mm-hmm.
the destination is on that plate and you take that in for nourishment versus like you said, all the different hands and you know contamination that happens with our food supply. So I think it's definitely something to that. And I think stuff like that used to be second nature to us, like generationally. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was talking to an indigenous brother of the Navajo tribe, and he was talking about how everything can be medicine, right? If you
Mm.
just if you in tune with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I often think about like all the vegetation, for instance, that's in front of us on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Whether it be at our homes or, when we drive by like things every day, we don't necessarily acknowledge or understand what that is, right? So that's a lot deeper than what we're talking about. And I don't want to digress, but I think that type of thinking or that type of consciousness kind of comes
Mm-hmm.
about the more you involve yourself in this
Yeah.
type of effort.
Mm.
That's real.
Self-sufficiency, self-sufficiency, man. Things go bad, where will we go? Like you say, martial law happens, they shut down the city, shit get real crazy here, shit gets squiggly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
where will we
Oh,
go?
man. We saw a
yeah,
little bit of that with COVID, man. Did we
Yeah,
not?
Yeah.
absolutely,
yeah.
For sure.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And I consider myself like a lightweight prepper. So I do, and most of it came from COVID, to be honest. Like because I was looking around and it really
Wake up
solidified
call.
yeah, the fact that like okay, it only take about 48 hours for people to lose their shit if they don't have
Mm-hmm.
necessities, right?
Yeah.
And we saw what people was doing for toilet paper and
Toilet
bottled
paper.
water and shit like that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine if it was like a more severe circumstance of that, because I feel like that was kind of like a sneak peek,
Hmm.
Yeah, right.
and in some kind of way it was a wake up call, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, I feel like probably a lot of people kind of reverted back to what they were kind of used to after that,
Yeah.
that normalcy bias, right? Knowing that they can go
Mm-hmm.
to Starbucks in the morning, know that they can hit that light switch and the lights is going to come on. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, it really kind of shook something in me and was like, okay, you got to be proactive and accountable about
Mm-hmm.
maintaining yourself and your family, right? So you got to be doing something, right? So, like I said, one of the things that I kind of like it's kind of like a hobby for me now. Like I'll get on YouTube and I'll just watch like doomsday preppers and stuff. Now some of these guys are like way out. Like you like wow, like he tripping. Like he taking it to a the umpteenth level, but for the most part a lot of those people are good intention, and there's things you can learn from them, right?
Mhm.
Because they're thinking in terms of that, right, in the worst case scenarios that most
Yeah.
people just aren't prepared for. And that's the worst place to be when you consider that most people in the city are literally sitting ducks,
Yeah.
like literally. And if it came down to me or you, obviously it's gonna be you. If I can help it. But when you actually take inventory of what you have and are you able to, you know what I mean, sustain yourself and your family and protect, because the law enforcement, they coming after the fact. We know that, right? In the
Right.
meantime, what can you do for yourself in a preventative sense, and what can you do in the moment? Are you conditioned? Are you running drills with your family? Are you physically conditioned, right? Can you go without
Mhm.
food for a day? You know what I mean? Are you fasting? Like simple
Mhm.
things that I think most people just take for granted. And unfortunately, you know in our lifetime, COVID was just one of those things that we had to go through, right? But when you consider our grandparents and shit, they lived through world wars and all kinds of shit, right?
Right.
So it would be naive to think
Great
that
Depression.
yeah, Great Depression. It would be naive to think that there's nothing ahead of us that's gonna test us in that way.
Mm,
Just gotta be prepared.
prepare,
You
stay
know what I'm
ready. You
saying?
ain't gotta get ready.
Right.
Mhm.
Sugar free.
Yeah, when COVID hit, I know we was doing the go bag training like every. I wish James was on the call, man. And that's when my training got heavier, brother James, and it escalated a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel like brother Kylan's saying like a lot of people just reverted back to the normalcy that they was used to, and they didn't really learn anything from it. I mean,
Well,
if there's two,
I think that's partly by design. Go ahead, brother. But that's just partly by design.
Indeed.
I think there's two things we learned from COVID, and I don't know if we're getting off topic a little bit, but we learned that we can work from home, and we learned
Mm,
that we can teach our children. You
mm,
know,
Look, that
big
part.
fact.
I think that's another piece that through this land
educate our
it
children.
allows the opportunity for us to teach the generation that is below us, because I mean, let's be honest, let's face it, that our generations that are upon us right now, they need guidance. And so
Mhm.
this is another opportunity to show that it is possible for you to be able uh, to govern oneself, to be able to be at peace with all men and still build as a collective. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
think this also was an opportunity for us to do that, to leave that legacy. But that the generation that's coming beyond us needs a lot of guidance, and I think this is
Hmm.
another way for us to get back to that.
Yeah,
Just to piggyback off that briefly too, it just shows you gain more. So there's a saying I use a lot. Like if everybody do a little, nobody has to do a lot.
Mhm.
So you get more with collaboration than you do competition. we
Come on,
we
man.
all
Come
grew
on.
up in this competitive nature. I got to be the best, or can't
Yeah,
nobody
selfish.
outshine me. Selfish, can't nobody, you know what I mean, do it better than me and all that. But when you form a legit team, you know what I mean, and you collaborate, the sky's the limit with the shit,
Man,
man.
come on.
The sky's the
Come on.
limit with the shit. So, but for the sake of time, man, let's go ahead and any last shout outs or what can they expect from the pod? What can they expect from us? What's our goals, man? Just wrapping up briefly.
I'm
If
just
anybody
trying
want
to
to.
inspire, man. I want to see us all free. You feel me? Because
Yes.
the more of us get free, and y'all was talking about capitalism earlier. The more of us get free, the quicker the system is going to crumble.
Mm. I would say listeners can expect growth. I mean, um, like I said, a lot for us to uncover amongst ourselves, a lot for us to discover or rediscover. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the growth, whether it be bringing individuals on that can offer us knowledge in this area or simply just sharing our journey. I think there's a lot to offer. And I think we are underrepresented in this particular lifestyle. So I'm just looking forward to all of that.
Yeah. Especially being black men, right? To see a collective of black men come together to do something that is so unnatural and so unstereotypical. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is that when you see a collective, if someone only saw just this picture and they didn't hear any words, the last
Yeah.
thing that they would think is that we was talking about community economics, land ownership, agriculture, lifestyle, things of that nature. That would be the last thing. So what you can expect is the unconventional. You can expect a lot of expertise and knowledge about land acquisition, about cultivation. But I think also what you'll get is every single time is a fresh, unique perspective from each and every one of us, because we all are still our own individuals. We all still bring into this our own experiences. And so everybody comes into this from a different place, but we also come into it viewing it from a different lens as well. And so I think that what you're going to get is real and what you're going to get is raw, but what you're going to get is something that will help every single person out there begin to find a way to cut the cord and to free themselves.
Mm.
Mm.
True. That's true.
Yeah, and to add, let's just say this little piece. You're gonna get this is the beginning of what we're starting. You're seeing the very beginning of this. So what you're going to get is you're going to get the things, the meat in between the sandwich, so to speak. You know what I mean? You're going to get all of that in between, and what you're going to get is you're going to get the understanding of what it means to really build a legacy. And I think
Mm,
that is the biggest piece, is leaving that lasting legacy for those that come behind us. We're not doing this for ourselves. This is, if you understand this, this is a selfless venture that we're on, a journey that we're on, so, per se. But what you're going to get is you're going to get to understanding of what that means and how you can cultivate that with different perspectives, different minds, but with one mission.
yeah.
I agree. We're gonna get some game. We're gonna get some game. We all gonna get some game and knowledge and insight on all that stuff. Because we just, even though this kind of went by fast, we just barely tipped off the iceberg. We didn't get into
That's it.
how we got it, the steps we took, and what we've done on the land so far, what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
We haven't even got there yet. So this is just the first episode, man.
that's it. More dope
So
content coming as well. We got more dope content. We've been working already, so you guys are catching us on kind of the tail end of some of the projects that we're working on. But you're going to get more dope content coming your way as well. Merchandise, we've got that as well. Which I think when you analyze what we're doing, it's priceless. It's priceless.
Hmm.
What's the
And
best way
also,
for people to
go
contact
ahead.
us, y'all? What's the best way for people to contact us? They got questions in between.
Woo! The growth spot at gmail.com. Or you can catch us on IG. What is it? The Growth Spot Squad.
Growth Spot Squad. Yep.
What
Yes,
about
sir.
Facebook? What is it on Facebook?
the growth
The
spot,
growth spot
the
legacy.
growth spot, yeah.
We on all the socials, man. We on all the socials. We on all the different
And
media.
then
We
the
got the website.
growthspot.org.
Check out the website.
Growthspot.org.
Yep. I think really quick, I also want to say is that we'll also talk about all the many things that you can do on the land. Brother True, you went to the Ready Expo. You bring a
Yeah.
lot of fresh perspective about all the different ways, not only that you can monetize the land, but how can you capitalize on having your own acreage. Boom, there you go, to growspot.org.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we
Yes,
got
sir.
a cash app.
We do got a cash app. It's the money sign, the growth spot. So we are everything the growth spot. You may see another organization or entity, but we are the only, the one, the true, the original growth spot.
Yes,
That's it.
sir.
For sure, man. We're gonna get up out of here until next time, man. We'll be hitting y'all with episodes weekly. Once this one drop, be on the lookout, man, and holler at us, man. Peace and blessings.
Legacy.
For
Legacy.
Peace.
sure.
Peace.
Peace, peace, peace,
Peace.
peace.